All right, Chapter 2. I liked school, but a day exploring with Gilbert was hard to beat. I was awake before the magpies. When they started their caroling, my heart leaped with excitement. I hurried outside to milk Gertie and breathed in the air, which seemed sharper and fresher because it was a holiday. A couple of magpies sat on the back gate near Gertie's pen, garbling and gargling, heads tilted as if they had a day off as well. I leaned my forehead against Gertie's flank and pulled her teats until the milk filled the bucket. Here, I said, tossing her an extra handful of weeds. You're my favorite goat. Gertie didn't even blink. She knew she was the only goat we had, and without her, there'd be no milk. When I carried the bucket inside, Ma'am was dishing out the porridge. Gilbert and I are going exploring today, ma'am, looking for stuff to make a cart. I tipped some of the milk into my bowl and momentarily watched it puddle around the hot, lumpy cereal. You be careful, Jack. Yeah, I will. Remember, shafts, pits, holes. Yes, ma'am, I answered dutifully. Hey, came a shout from outside. Jack, you ready? Coming. I thrust the dish into the washing up tub and wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. Bye, ma'am, I said before dashing outside to where Gilbert waited by the back gate. The day was overcast, still with an early morning chill that made my fingers tingle. Luckily, it's not raining, remarked Gilbert. I looked up at the gray clouds with not a drop of rain in them. Ma'am called them teaser clouds. I felt like running. I'm as fast as a nanny goat if I want to be. But around here, you have to keep your eyes open. Not so much near Moonta Mines, where there's hundreds of cottages, but out further in the paddocks and wide stretches of land. Over the years, lots of people had tried to find copper and failed, so there were dozens of abandoned holes and pits about. Our ma'ams were always warning us about being careful, but I didn't know anyone who'd fallen in. A wintry sun snuck through the clouds and warmed our backs as we headed away from our homes, kicking at stubbly grasses and dumps of limestone rock. But I find something first, said Gilbert. Bet you don't. But he did. Something good, too. Beside the tumble-down wall of an old stone cottage, he discovered a wheel. It's from a pram, isn't it? Gilbert's face glowed as he gazed at it. Probably. I pushed back the fringe that had flopped over my eyes, wrestling with the joy of find and the dark, niggling feeling that Gilbert, as usual, had won the bet. It's good, Gilbert, but where are the other wheels? I parted a clump of bushes and peered in vain. Gilbert wasn't listening. Clutching a mallee tree branch, he let out a wild yell and belted the rim, sending the wheel rolling drunkenly across the stony ground. When it toppled, he raced up and began to bat it again. We need 3 more, remember? I shouted, searching among straggly grasses. Next thing, Gilbert was yelling like mad. I've lost it! What? I called. What are you talking about? I ran up to where he stood staring into a large cluster of bushes. Where is it? Gilbert pointed. In there somewhere. Well, you better get it. We need it. Yes, sir. Gilbert used his boot to flatten some of the bushes and his elbow to shield his face from the thorny branches. Got it. Hey, wait, Jack. Look what else I found behind here. What? We needed another 3 wheels, but I didn't necessarily want Gilbert to find them all. Come and see. With an exaggerated sigh, I pushed my way closer. Then I stopped. It would be just like Gilbert to spin around and throw a dead rat or a handful of kangaroo droppings at me. Or say, look at all the fresh air I found. But it wasn't any of those things. It was an old shaft, overgrown with bushes and long, stocky grasses. I glanced at it. It's a hole. Come on, I said. I want to go down. Why don't we? I knew that look. Gilbert's eyes flashed like firecrackers and his voice trembled. Not me, I said, hedging away. Why not? Gilbert was already shuffling around the edges, testing them with the heel of his boot. Not interested, that's all. But that wasn't all. There was a strange, unexpected fluttering in the pit of my stomach. Miners go down shafts, Gilbert reminded me with one eyebrow cocked. So I've heard, I countered. But his comment only made things worse. Oops, sorry, that's my hand. I was going to be a miner one day, so what was wrong with going down a hole? But for some reason, the thought of actually going down one sent a prickly feeling up and down my spine. What if it goes all the way to China? Gilbert gave a loud guffaw, slid off the edge, and vanished from sight. Gil, I gasped. I pushed my way through the bush, yelping as a thorn jagged my arm. Then I got on all fours and peered into the hole. A sudden smell of musky earth hit my nostrils. From above came the caw of a crow. I stared at the top of Gilbert's head and his thatch of light brown hair. He'd clambered down, monkey style, past the section of the hole that had been roughly lined with branches and timber. Now he was scrambling deeper, clinging to rocks that jutted out in the gloom. "Woohoo!" he hollered. "Fun, fun, fun!" I leaned closer. A sudden flutter of wings and the cry of a pigeon made my heart leap. Cupping my hands, I called, "Are you all right?" "Yeah," called Gilbert. "I'm at the bottom. I found something. You gotta come and help me lift it up." "I hope it's a ladder." "Ha! No, it's not. Come on, Jack. Don't be such a weakling. I need your help." I was being a weakling and I knew it. I was almost 12 and 3 months older than Gilbert. If Gilbert can do it, I said to myself, then so can I. I took a deep breath and wriggled over the edge. I kept muttering the words in my head, but they didn't help. I took another deep breath and started easing myself down. There was a fresh smear of pigeon droppings on one of the bits of timber, but I couldn't worry about that. I just had to grip hard and let my feet work blindly to find as wide a foothold as possible. I looked over my shoulder to see how far down I still had to go. As I shifted my grip, a few grains of grit shot into my eyes. I blinked, not daring to let go, although my eyes stung. They watered so much I could hardly see. I stayed like that for a good minute, as if I'd been pinned to the face of the shaft. My throat tightened. I began to shake. What was wrong with me? Should I yell to Gilbert or keep going? What if I fell? I had to do something. Trying to keep the panic out of my voice, I shouted, "Hey, Gilbert, here's an idea. I'm about halfway. Why don't you bring whatever you've got up to me, and I'll take it to the top?" "Come on," I urged. "If anyone can do it, you can." Gilbert liked dares, and luckily my ruse worked. I stayed where I was, breathing shallowly, listening to Gilbert puffing and panting his way upwards. It was a length of timber with rusty metal bits attached. "Your turn," he said, pushing it in my direction. It was a terrible moment. I had to let go of my grip on the wall with one hand to grab the bit of wood. It was awkward and heavier than I thought. With my lips pressed together, I hooked the thing under one arm and tried to ignore the hammering in my heart. "Raced it to the top!" Gilbert laughed and scrabbled ahead of me. I was showered with loosened pebbles, but couldn't speak because of the thick dryness in my throat. Near the top, I heaved the wood up onto the grass and clambered out of the shaft, struggling to catch my breath. For the next few minutes, I made a show of brushing the dirt off my clothes, but really I was pushing down a feeling of wanting to be sick. That is the end of chapter 2. And if you heard my kids screaming, well, my kids are home, so they're always screaming.